All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? This is Joseph Watkins. I am here with Carter Allen, illustrator. I am here with fellow writer of RGN 99, Josh Brafman. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty good.
Got
Yeah,
you.
doing
Awesome.
well.
Nice. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to celebrate a book of kaiju, one that is needed for the world, called One Massive Step, set in 1972, Age of Calamity. Monique, Anne, Mickey, Destinies Unknown, Problems to Solve, Finding Ways to Overcome, Monsters, Secrets, and Conquering Their Destiny. Gentlemen, can you please tell us a little bit about this book? We'll start with you, Josh.
Well, One Massive Step really started as like a series of little ideas that I had for like kaiju stories over the course of several decades, really. But it really kind of crystallized the first year I went to G Fest, and I saw, people out in Chicago selling their own books, much like Carter here with Ectyron at the time, and now with Wrath of Carapace. I thought to myself, all these people are making their kaiju story. Why haven't I made mine? And so I took the two stories that I kept thinking about the most, which was a story set in Vietnam and a story set in the Philippines.
Okay.
And those two stories just kind of resonated with me, and so I wrote them in a way that they kind of feed into each other. And like the more that you read about one story, answers will come for the other story, and vice versa.
Got you. Got you. Mr. Allen?
Yeah. Um, so yeah, Josh and I, as you mentioned, met in a G Fest, and I think it was 2022 or
That
21.
sounds right. I think it was 22.
Okay, it was, I think, the first year after they had um postponed, canceled the show because of COVID, um, lockdowns and restrictions, safety concerns, and then they had it for the first year at the the Hyatt, I believe, the Regency. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, we met with Josh. He interviewed me about Ectyron. So we talked, and it was a good meetup, and so and that from then we I think we corresponded a little bit over social media here and again, and then we talked again. I can't remember. Was it last year or the year before that?
Well, I
I forget.
remember it was like I
I,
think I had to skip one year of G Fest. I wasn't at 23, but I was at
mhm.
or or I was at 23, but I wasn't at 24. I Yeah, because at the
Okay,
time,
that's
yeah, because I saw you the next year and kind of like checked in with you, and we caught up a little bit. But then the following year, 2024, I skipped G Fest because at the time I was saving all of my money for a freelance editor to look at my manuscript at the time, which was my thesis for my MFA for creative writing. Now that was a unrelated fantasy story that unfortunately did not coalesce into anything simply because after all the money and the time that I put into it, the editor told me that the story was unpublishable and that my work would it would better suit me to shelve the book and work on something else, and
Jesus.
be it be it either due to spite or due to the fact that I hadn't written anything new in about 4 years, I I took his advice and I wrote the entire first draft of One Massive Step in 1 month in November of
Wow.
last year, and kind of fast tracked it and reconnected with Carter uh, through social media. To
Wait, I'm sorry. So your professor told you to shelve this story.
Oh no, not my professor. This was
Oh,
a an unrelated gentleman
okay.
who
The
freelance
editor.
editor who I had saved up money for
Yeah.
to I had skipped G Fest that year specifically to fund uh this editor, and he
For
told me
this
that
book.
for not this book, for a book before this book.
Okay.
And he told me that that book, that previous book, was unpublishable, and
Okay.
the only way to do it would be to either completely start over from the ground up, or to shelve it and work on something entirely different. And that's what I did.
They work entirely different.
Correct. And that became One Massive Step.
Just one question. Were there any the shelves book?
Yeah.
Um, were there any ideas from One Master Step that came from it? Or this
Um.
is like any details of any kind?
Well, they're very different books.
Okay.
The the book that was shelved was a high fantasy book.
Mm,
It definitely had I believe some of the tone with the character exchanges, like some
okay.
of the comedic character exchanges, I feel like would have been at home in this previous book.
Okay.
But and a lot of the lessons that I learned from that book are in here, insofar as, like a big criticism of the previous manuscript was that the characters don't have any agency. They're just doing stuff because the plot demands it. And
Wow.
in this book, characters are 100% driven by their own wants, by their own needs.
Mm,
Everyone has a personal stake in this story, and that moves them forward through the book.
got you. Got you. Now, for the audience just tuning in, or for people new to the big monster universe, what are kaiju?
Well, kaiju are giant monsters. Uh, in this case, mutated or changed uh, by whether like usually by nuclear means, radioactive radiation means. Uh,
Okay.
at least that's what it means for the kaiju of One Massive Step. They are all creatures that have fed on these mushrooms that have grown as a result of nuclear fallout.
So, all right. So, I'm sorry. I'm pausing. I apologize. Like I said, laid back vibe.
No, it's okay.
So, nuclear powered mushrooms, giant monsters, one hell of a party. Carter, you can
BY,
answer if you want to. You can
yeah,
answer if you want to.
it's BYOM for neuromushrooms. But no, yeah, I mean, yeah, kaiju, um, which is Japanese for strange beast or strange
Okay.
monster creature. It has a pretty large footprint, no pun intended. Uh, covers everything from Godzilla to I believe there was another Toho creature feature called Mutango.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Matango.
Yep.
I
Which
def
features people that get infected by this mushroom, kind of like the Last of Us type of thing, where they just kind of get they become fungi.
Yeah,
Um,
they become like mushroom people. It's creepy.
it is. So I mean, it's a wide range, right? If you most of it is city smashing building size things, and then it kind of filters down a little bit to if you watch like Ultraman,
Okay.
for instance, there's a wide range of these things that populate the world. So in Josh's case, he's got his way of how they work, right? I think each universe has its own set of rules. Some of it's high like magic, they're magical creatures. Some of
Okay.
it's super science, like Josh mentioned the radiation. And then there's other cases where there's no explanation really given other than the fact that it's a big darn thing. Um or things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, so and it's definitely if you go back to I think 20 years ago, there was kind of a undercurrent of these creatures that ruled the world from a fan perspective or from a pop culture perspective, but it's only been recently that it's kind of taken um, more of a larger role in pop culture, right? Because
Mhm.
now you've got all these movies and TV shows and cartoons and books and comic books and video games. Um, and so for anybody, tuning in, reading this review or this interview, G Fest is a big convention for um, Godzilla, Gamera, giant monsters, kaiju enthusiast, that they've grown up with these things or they've been fans for a long time, and it's really exploded into a it's the umbrella has gotten bigger, right? I think.
I've noticed because it seems like I will be honest. Like when I was growing up, I saw a couple Godzilla movies, um, Mothra. The bad villain monster. I forget his name. He Godzilla last one. He cracked up his Mecha Godzilla. I think cracked up his mouth, breathed fire into his throat. Hydra based.
Mm.
Um, and I've gotten and after linking up with Josh, I was like, yo, this is pretty good. And when I saw Godzilla -1 and they told me about G Fest and Kaiju Brooklyn, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. It seems the umbrella has gotten bigger, as you stated, Carter, and now it just seems like it's just fucking awesome. I guess the best way to put it. Um,
Yeah,
it's just because everyone loves big fucking monsters.
right,
Oh
right.
yeah.
I remember playing Rampage growing up. If
Yeah.
Kaji book, that's just,
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Thank you for that with the kaiju's. Please tell me a little bit more about the characters of One Master Step. Monique and Mickey.
Well, Monique is a J- a, f- a Japanese French woman, French Japanese woman, whose father went missing at sea 18 years ago. She nowadays she works as an insurance agent for an insurance company, and she gets transferred of all places to Vietnam in order to do her work there. She's been told by her bosses that someone in Vietnam knows what really happened to her father. And so she's going out not only to, do a job, but also to figure out exactly what happened to her father. Uh, and as for Mickey, Mickey is a young boy in the Philippines, about 17 years old. His parents are getting a divorce. He's staying with his uncle Tito. Things aren't doing too great. Um, and to make matters even more complicated, he's started getting headaches and started hearing voices coming from the ocean, having these nightmares of people going missing, nightmares that are coming true. So, and both of these stories are connected in some way or another to kaiju.
Can I?
Now, oh, go ahead, guys.
I'm sorry. I know you said this was laid back. This is a question. I don't mean to interrupt, but
No, no.
um, the the setting, the time, place,
Mm.
the locales, right? Because as I've been getting material from Josh, and he's been just, he's given me excerpts from the book and descriptions, and we've looked at some of the minutia, the detail of these
Okay.
settings, right? Because there's some very specific visual call outs, like locations and time periods. One
Yeah,
thing I
Vietnam.
was, yeah, right. And I've been, this is a question I wanted to ask. And I thought that as you were talking about the characters and where they're from and what they're doing, um, Josh, I was curious what gave you that impulse to say the time period and the place, because geopolitically, right, it's a pretty, um to put it mildly, a dense uh setting, right,
A
because
lot
of the
going on.
war.
A
Yeah.
lot
Well,
going on.
yeah. The idea in choosing Vietnam was deliberate in insofar as, you know, like you take a powder keg like Vietnam, and then what happens when you introduce a completely foreign element like Kaiju into the mix? How does that affect the war? How does that change the perspectives of the people that are fighting? And plus there are some really interesting set pieces that can go along with such a setting. Like there's an entire, not to spoil things, but there's an entire sequence set in the tunnels in the Viet Cong tunnels where they're just running from kaiju that are inside the tunnels.
I'm
Uh,
I apologize.
no, it's okay.
I don't want you to spoil the book when I ask. But the details are, just give the audience a little bit of details.
Mhm.
What type of kaiju are we dealing with? Are
Well,
we dealing with just sea kaiju, land kaiju, air kaiju?
well, for this book, the kaiju that we see are predominantly sea based. Like are like these are like I'll give you two examples because they're right on the front cover of the book. So, that's not a spoiler. Like right here we have Moon Eyes, a giant wolf eel kaiju that has somehow managed to survive on land, and it just moves like a freight train through barrels through whatever it comes across. Like it's very much like the battle between the battle in Vietnam is very much inspired by -1, specifically the boat scene from -1, if you remember that. uh and then we have our hero kaiju, uh Kingfisher, uh a giant pistol shrimp kaiju. Now that that's important. If you know what a pistol shrimp can do, you could understand exactly
Wait,
how.
do they shoot pew pew pew?
Oh yeah,
Like,
the pistol shrimp has the pistol shrimp, as its namesake suggests, shoots a bubble that's over, I believe, and I may be misquoting the numbers here, 1,000 degrees Celsius, underneath the water. And because it's so small, and it's underwater, that it basically is just used to stun prey or to kill prey. Now I got to thinking, what if that was on land? How would that look? And what sort of thing would that look? And Carter has rendered it very well here, if I do say so myself.
I see it, I see it.
Thank you.
Good. What the question for Carter.
Yeah.
Side note transition. I just want to talk about, just give a little plug in here because Illustrations are amazing for One Massive Step. Could we just briefly talk about the marvelous monster of the Midwest?
Oh, Ectyron. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Please, let's give a shout out.
So
Because
Ectyron, yeah, he's a radioactive kaiju rooster that battles robots, aliens, and the occasional fast food mascot. Um, that's my pitch line for people that come to the shows. He is as tall as the Iowa State Capitol, so if you're looking for scale, um, and that's about 360 feet tall. So he's a big guy. He's a big chicken, big rooster. Um, he's yeah. So he's been in. I'm working on a fifth book right now, fifth comic. All the stories are standalone.
okay,
So it's beginning, middle, and end. Very much in the style of comics from, I guess it's the Bronze Age, which would
okay,
be like the 1970s, the early 80s, where it was comics were delivered primarily through retail markets like grocery stores and bookstores, right? They didn't have the direct sales market. So kids would buy a comic and they'd read it, they'd see Spider-Man, 24 pages. If they didn't get another Spider-Man comic, they wouldn't miss the world, right? If they hadn't read one before it. So anyway, so he's in these series of books. Um, and then the other one that Josh mentioned, Carapace, that is a massive sea monster that predates antiquity, right? So it was responsible for the destruction of Atlantis. And in this tale that I wrote and co-created and designed with an author from Louisiana named Leroy Desereau. It involves it's more of a tokusatsu take on things where you've got a group of evil people and a group of good people, and they're kind of squaring off around the fate of this monster in Portland. So yeah.
So,
guys,
uh,
thanks. Oh, go ahead, Josh. I'm sorry.
I had a question for Carter.
Okay.
So what was it like? Well, can you describe what the experience was like, or the challenges that you faced when designing the kaiju for One Massive Step?
So yeah, so the as I mentioned earlier, excerpts from the book and then text descriptions by you, Josh, right? So
Mhm.
let's talk about Kingfisher, right? So it was the type of animal. And so I went and researched, right? I said, well, what does this critter look like? And my first iteration was kind of like a scaled up version of
Mm.
this crustacean, right?
Yeah, I
And
have
then
the.
you would, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, oh wait, no, they're on my laptop, not on my PC. I was gonna say I have the concept art. If I could screen share, but it's not. It's on a different computer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So it was, and then Josh, you would give me the feedback in regards to, well, it needs to be a little more upright. I think one of the phrases you used was he's kind of built like a linebacker, but
Mm.
he's got to have power, right? So broad shoulders, because as you know, not to spoil anything, he's going to have to use that physicality
Mm.
later on in the book. So things like that. I mean, I think the cover artist had put together some designs, character sheets, some concept art, and I used that for some of the work as well. And it was pretty interesting because when I'm creating a kaiju for one of my books, it's all coming from inside one head, right? And for the most part, and I this was a little bit different because it was like, okay, I'm reading the words and I'm seeing them in my mind, and does that match what Josh is seeing, for instance? And So it was a pretty interesting collaboration for doing that. What do you think of this and what do you think of that type of thing? So it was, and as you can see in the book, the art turned out great because of that collaboration. So,
When
yeah.
designing, sorry, when designing kaiju,
Mhm.
because the wait, so before I ask that question, I have one question. So the
Okay.
chicken ate a radioactive shroom in the Midwest.
Oh no, that the mushrooms are the one massive step thing.
Okay.
The I don't know where Ectyron I don't remember where Ectyron comes from.
Just tell me a little bit because one giant chicken.
Well, originally the idea came around that, and now this is the a bird flu strain from a while back, right? It's not currently what we don't know that's going around, right?
Okay.
Mm.
So the idea was that there was an effort to um, come up with a cure for this, and they were experimenting on chickens. And he's the result of one of these scientific experiments gone bad. So going back to the umbrella of kaiju, there's always that we did something with science type thing, intentionally, right? And
Mhm.
consequences happen. So that's the rough origin. I haven't depicted it or talked about it
Okay.
in any of the pages, just because um the scope of the comic books, and I think sometimes there's some mystery, and then you think about legacy kaiju,
Mhm.
like a Godzilla or Gamera. Over time, those origins, or those stories, get retold and reimagined, um, based on what the creator wants to do, and then also what the audiences want to see, right? So um, I
Okay.
think that's leaving it somewhat open, but it's like Batman. It's always crime alley, right? There's always that one element that stays true, right?
Of course.
Something made these things, what they are. Those things that stays, pretty true. So
Got you. Now, for Mickey, um, he's hearing voices, link see voices.
Mhm.
Um, just best way to how would you describe Mickey if you could in more detail?
Well, Mickey is uh I tried to write him as kind of like the typical, teenager in the 70s, just
Hmm.
kind of laid back, he loves to surf, you know, he he likes he just wants to enjoy life. It's the summertime, but things keep getting in the way. Like, first all this stuff with his parents, and now
Okay.
he's in a place he doesn't know.
Okay.
He's but he's but it's not all bad. He's meeting girls. You know, he's experiencing new things. It's
To bo- to
you
to
know the teenage summer experience, that sort of thing.
got you. Now, are the nightmares prophetic? Like, is it leading to possibly him becoming the savior of the world?
Well, these without getting into overt spoilers,
Okay.
um, I will say that Mickey's name is actually is an homage to a character from Godzilla. Uh, I don't know if Carter. I'm not sure if you picked up on that or not.
yeah, I kind of did, but
But
yeah.
yeah, there is a character in the 90s, in the 1990s Godzilla series, her name is Miki Sagusa, Miki Sagusa, and she is a persistent character throughout those films, uh, and she has a psychic connection. to the kaiju.
Got you. Got it. Now, because I don't want to give too much away. You know,
Mm,
it's
mm.
it's dropping. With just two general questions. Two general questions. Um, when it comes to kaiju, is there any taboo rules that take place when creating kaiju or writing about kaiju or drawing kaiju? Are there any like taboo rules like, hey, you never do that in the kaiju universe?
I think, well, the one of the best parts about kaiju stories is their versatility. So for me, I think it's less about what's taboo and what's not, and more about sticking to the tone that you've set.
Okay.
Um, like, for instance, this story, uh, it wouldn't make sense for one of the kaiju to just poop, and then all of a sudden, the characters have to deal with like the waste removal or something like that. It's like that's goofy and over the top. It's something you can do in kaiju stuff if you want, but it's not but it wouldn't make sense in one massive step. So it's less about the taboo and more about just sticking to the proper tone. At least that's my answer. What do
Uh,
you think, Carter?
Yeah, I think that that's accurate. And going back to the legacy characters, there are certain Godzilla movies that have a more carefree tone to the proceedings, right? And there's some that are very deadly serious and have messages that are pretty. They're not even like subliminal. They're just right there, right?
mhm.
But it follows through, right? And it's if you watch any James Bond movie, if you watch any Batman movie, same thing, right? It's James Bond goes into space. It was the 1970s. Space was huge, right? It was anyway. So, yeah, keep it within the confines of what you've established up front,
Okay.
and then you stick with it. I think that that's pretty accurate. And I think the other thing is that when an audience gets invested in a kaiju, a giant monster like these, they will be very fiercely loyal to the creation, and if they'll start forming their opinions about it, right? So there's um, a whole discourse around the use of a monster, or I think they call it power scaling, where they say,
Oh
oh
yeah,
well, King Kong couldn't do that and Godzilla couldn't do that, and again, so it's those expectations that are set up front. If you say, hey, look, my Godzilla minus one is a great example of, it starts out deadly serious from the beginning and it falls all the way through. But it's a fun movie
hmm
in a lot of respects, because there is that kind of roller coaster element to it, but it's not Godzilla using power breath to fly type
yeah.
of thing.
Okay.
Like,
But it's not to say that where that happens in Godzilla versus Megalon that doesn't fit the story, because, or no, I'm sorry, Smog Monster.
yeah, but
Uh, yeah.
yeah,
So
the tone of One Massive Step is supposed to be rooted in like science and you know
Okay.
realism to a degree.
Okay.
So one of the large points of the Vietnam story is, well, how do these things even exist? Like how is it that these things are even able to come on land? And
Mm,
learning and unraveling the mystery behind that, and like how exactly that works,
okay.
is a big part of it. So it's like I I wouldn't say that there's no room in the One Massive Step universe for outlandish things to happen,
Okay.
Like you know, like that, like there could easily be something like aliens happening later, but you have to build to that. It's about escalation and the proper build up. And does this make sense? And is this respectful to the time period and to the people that you know, or to the different cultures that we're writing about?
Sorry about that. So it's safe to say there's going to be a volume two.
Oh, yeah. This is the One Massive Step is the first in a planned trilogy
Okay.
of books. The second, One Massive Step, then the second one which I'm working on now is
Mhm.
called Two Giant Cries,
Okay.
and then the third one, which is far out from here, is called Three Vast Shadows.
Okay. And it's safe to say that Carter Allen will be working on all three of them.
As long as he's free.
All right, that's what's up.
Yep.
Now, to Carter Allen, thank you so much,
Yeah.
um,
Thank you.
for interviewing us. Sorry for interviewing for the interview. Sorry, apologize. Um,
No worries.
Josh, thank you again. Before we leave,
Anytime.
I always ask this. I always ask the question, favorite video game.
Hmm.
But since we're in a kaiju universe and we're in a kaiju vibe, what is possibly your favorite kaiju video game
Well,
or favorite kaiju video game that you know
well,
about
well,
that you
I'm of two minds when it comes to that question.
Mhm.
Because my because the kaiju video game I have the biggest attachment to is Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee. For the Nintendo GameCube. I grew
Okay.
up with that game. I played the heck out of it. I even got the strategy guide, which I read so much that the spine broke and fell off. I had to
Okay.
tape it back together. Uh, and I would put in all the cheat codes just because back then, you could put in cheat codes that would do crazy stuff. Like all of a sudden, oh, you could pick up and throw any object in the game, or you could make
Wow.
yourself really big or really tiny, or give yourself a big head.
Okay.
And I would just fool around with those for hours on end. But if we're talking about like modern day, my favorite kaiju game, it's probably a toss up between Gigabash, which
Okay.
is kind of like the modern successor to those Godzilla fighting games. You got my boy Concrete in there, as well as a number of Godzilla and Ultraman characters. And Dawn of the Monsters, which is a great 2D beat 'em up game where you play as original kaiju with a story that's done by Way Forward, the same people that did uh, the Shantae games, 13
Okay.
AM games. Did a fantastic job with that game.
Got you. Carter?
Yeah, I mean, all those that you mentioned are great. The melee tons of hours logged on that. Um I would say probably video game Rampage
I was
that we talked about
I, was-
earlier.
I would
Oh
follow
yeah.
up and say that OG
Oh yeah.
kaiju game. I
Yeah.
Ramp
love that one. King of
Rampage Total Destruction. I played the heck out of that on my N64 with me
Nice.
and my brother spent many a night on that.
It
Nice.
was so fun playing it too because you could be like really terrible at it and you could at least get past one city, right?
Mm.
And just anyway, it's yeah, I would say that's one of my favorites, pretty high up there. And then on the phone, I unfortunately have this weird addiction to Godzilla Battle
Oh, Godzilla Battle Line.
Battle Line, which I love and hate at equal amounts because it's a head to head.
Mm,
Sometimes you're the dog and sometimes you're the fire hydrant, you know.
yeah.
And when you're the fire hydrant, it sucks because I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, there's like a ridiculous amount of like meta stuff you have to do in
Oh
order to
wow.
stay on top of it. It's like a tower defense type game, but with Godzilla characters. It's very addicting. I fell into the rabbit hole for that
Oh wow.
on more than one occasion. But if you're looking for another game that's going to scratch that Rampage itch, I recommend Terror of Hemosaurus if you haven't played
Okay.
that yet. It's basically Rampage, but with physics. If that's if that makes any sense, like you
Kaiju
can
math.
you can there's two buildings side to side.
Wow.
You could destroy one, like break the bottom layer of it, and then that one building will fall on the other one, and they'll both explode.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's and you can like do all the same stuff you do in Rampage. You eat people, kick cars around. It's a lot of fun.
Can you get the electric jolt?
Uh, yeah,
You know,
you do get you do get
okay.
zapped. But yeah, that's a game made by like one guy, and it was a ton of fun. I played it on my Switch, but I'm pretty sure it's like available on everything, even phones.
Oh, good.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
That's my platform of choice as far as like video games now,
Oh
beyond the
wow.
phone.
Yeah.
Got you.
We got into a huge Animal Crossing phase
Oh yeah,
during
I feel like everybody did back in COVID.
yeah, yeah. We actually did I know we're close on time here, but
Mhm.
we did a microcon
Okay.
Oh,
on Animal Crossing in
oh wow.
2020.
Okay.
Where we distributed island codes and people would come to my island and I would make custom t-shirt designs that they could take home.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
That's what's
I was
up.
big into Animal Crossing for a long time. I made my island Monster Island because I'm very creative. I made the whole island into the shape of, or at least tried to make it into the shape of Godzilla's head. I put
Mm.
like
nice.
I put like landmarks with different kaiju, like I put a three-headed like brontosaurus as like the skeleton of King Ghidorah in
You
the
need the video.
Nice.
background.
Wait, do you still have the island or
Oh
is
yeah,
this
I still have the island. I just
you
haven't
gotta,
booted it up in a long time.
bro, you gotta put that on the recording. I'm just
You
saying
Yeah.
you
gotta
gotta
pull those weeds, man.
I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
actually want to see this on YouTube. I've never seen Godzilla Island in Monster Crossing.
Oh yeah. It was,
I would love to see that.
and I made a ton of custom t-shirts and jackets and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
It was a lot of fun.
Now, gentlemen, thank you so much. But before, please handles to where we can get your books.
Mm.
Um, One Massive Step I know is releasing, so we'll drop with Josh first. Cardi can go second. Please tell us where can we find your books and the platforms that they are on, and please give us your handles so we can know more about you guys.
Absolutely. One Massive Step is dropping May 31st, 2025, same day as Kaiju Brooklyn. You can find that book as well as any of my other books on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, anywhere that good books are sold, uh, things of that nature. You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky and Instagram at the local Brafman. That's BRA, F as in Frank, MAN. With Blue Sky, it's at the local Brafman.bsky dot social, but everywhere else is the same.
Carter.
And yeah, you can get books, the Ectyron volumes via Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Powell's, your local bookstore, anywhere that carries an ISBN number. The website is www.warningcomics.com. And I'll give you one of my social handles. I'm trying to scale back on Twitter, formerly now known as X or whatever. But it's Gorgo Forever at bsky.social. And here's a, oh, you can't even see that now.
Whoopsie.
Okay. Well, now it won't translate, but yeah. Gorgo, as in the great British kaiju film Forever. Just type
Nice.
that in and you'll find me. So yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much and have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you.